What it do, what it do, what it do. What it do, what it do, what it do. It's your boy Big Val Opinion back with another live video. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that share button. And most importantly, make sure you sub to the channel. Turn on that post notification bell so that you be notified each and every time that your boy Big Val is going live, man. With that being said, let's get into this intro. Welcome to Big Val Opinion. Moderators, with my permission, any negativity in the chat should be hidden from this channel. This channel is a negativity-free channel, drama-free channel, and we are here to push the message out. We will not be distracted. So with my permission, any negativity in the chat should be hidden from this channel. Welcome to Big Val Opinion platform.
And I just really want people to know, I appreciate anybody that's helping me. I appreciate anybody that's helping me. A lot of people have been there for me. I just don't want people going back and forth, being mad at each other because one person did this for me and another person did that for me. That's what the devil wants. He wants to cause confusion. That's what these people want. They want to cause confusion. And confusion ain't gonna do nothing but keep me in here. But the real lifetime, as far as RICO lifetime, as far as lifetime is concerned, there are real people, real women out here really being abused, really missing. They're really missing. They're really chained up in basements. I've been in here 4 years. I haven't seen one person that was ever chained up in a basement come forth for anything. But I tell you one thing, before Lifetime came out, I was minding my business. I was in the studio. I was working with celebrities. I had tours. But when Lifetime came out, all of that went away. Meaning, before Lifetime came out, I had no charges pending against me. Nobody had went to a radio station or had went to, a police station. It took a year to put together Lifetime. If all of the things they said I did on Lifetime were true, it only take a minute to go to a police station. But when there's a crime committed, you don't go make a movie on it. You go to the police station. Nobody had done that.
Yo, what it do? What it do? It's your boy Big Val Opinion. And I'm back with another live video. And today, man, y'all already see what is going on, man. Y'all already see what's going on. The judge said, say that there are many issues within this case. Man, what do you all think those issues could be? Also, man, I want to say shout out to everybody that's over here. Shout out to everybody that's standing tall, staying firm. And with Jennifer, we stand, with Jennifer, we fall, I believe in Bunjean Law Group, and I'm not gonna change. Nor am I gonna waver from how I feel when it comes to Jennifer Bunjean and the work that she does. Shout out to everybody that's out there putting in the work, putting out the content, speaking on the details, bringing the details as well. I want to also share something from a view from Tracy Point, because she's going over the written argument that Jennifer submitted to the judges. And these written arguments are some of the concerns that a lot of people have. A lot of people was questioning, well, why didn't Jennifer why did she bring up the ineffective counsel? What she did in her written argument. They say, why didn't she talk about the bad act witnesses? She did in her written argument. Why did she talk about the forced labor? She did it in her written arguments. Why didn't she talk about the transmission of the H or the STD? She talked about it in her written argument. And shout out to A View from Tracy's Point, because she's breaking down her video when she did the written argument that was submitted also to Ann Donnelly, which Ann Donnelly denied it and was submitted to the appellate courts. The appellate court saw that there was enough issues within the paperwork that they chose to hear the case. So, with that being said, people have been asking me about racketeering. What is racketeering? What is racketeering? And for us to have an understanding of what is racketeering, I'm going to share a video of someone explaining to us what does racketeering mean, the purpose of racketeering, and why is racketeering used. So, with that being said, we're gonna get into it. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Hope y'all having a blessed day. And I'm gonna play this video about 2 times so that we all can get a general understanding of what racketeering is. And I'm quite sure we all may have the same questions, after hearing this video. This guy explained what is racketeering.
Today, I want to shed light on some powerful tools that the FBI uses to fight crime. They're called racketeering and RICO. Let me break it down for you. Racketeering refers to a pattern of illegal activity carried out by an organized group or individual. It often involves acts like bribery, extortion, money laundering, or even violence. And that's where RICO steps in. RICO stands for the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. It's a powerful tool that the FBI uses to combat these organized criminal activities. Think of it as a legal wrecking ball that smashes through these criminal networks. RICO enables authorities to target not only the individual criminals, but also the entire organization they belong to. It allows us to prosecute those who are a part of these illegal enterprises, even if they weren't directly involved in the criminal acts. That's what we call the enterprise theory of law enforcement. By going after the organization as a whole, the FBI can dismantle the infrastructure that enables crime to flourish. It's like taking down the kingpin and watching the whole criminal empire crumble. RICO is an absolute game changer because it helps connect the dots. Law enforcement can link various criminal activities, even seemingly unrelated ones, to prove the existence of a criminal enterprise. It allows us to build a case by showing a pattern of behavior and the criminal network's interconnected nature. Thanks to RICO, the FBI can bring down drug cartels, organized crime syndicates, and other criminal organizations that pose significant threats to our society. It's a powerful weapon that levels the playing field and ensures that justice prevails. So the next time you hear about racketeering and RICO, remember that it's not just about fighting individual crimes, it's about taking down the entire corrupt system. It's about making our communities safer and ensuring that crime doesn't pay. And that's how it works. Have a great Today, I want to shed light on some powerful tools that the FBI uses to fight crime. They're called racketeering and RICO. Let me break it down for you. Racketeering refers to a pattern of illegal activity carried out by an organized group or individual. It
So we say it was designed to take down an organized group or individual. So in New York, we see that Mr. Kelly, was the individual, but there's still more to this racketeering.
illegal activity carried out by an organized group or individual. It often involves acts like bribery, extortion, money laundering, or
Well, we heard those in Mr. Kelly case. Bribery. We heard that. We heard bribery. We didn't hear anything about extortion. We didn't hear anything about money laundering. But it's so ironic that extortion happened to Mr. Kelly. I feel like money laundering was happening to Mr. Kelly. Let's go.
Extortion, money laundering, or even violence. And that's where RICO steps in. RICO stands for the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. It's a powerful tool that the FBI uses to combat these organized criminal activities. Think of it as a legal wrecking ball that smashes through these criminal networks. RICO enables authorities to target not only the individual criminals, but also the entire organization.
Now, it said it allows them to attack to bring down the entire organization. So when we hear them talk about these employees of Mr. Kelly, and this is what makes me feel as though their evidence could not have been as strong as they pertain it as they proclaim it to be, because if Mr. Kelly was running an organization or enterprise, then anybody that was supporting that enterprise, they should have been charged just as well as Mr. Kelly. And I want you all to hear what this guy say. He said, knowingly or unknowingly, you didn't even have to be directly involved. You didn't even have to be directly involved. But this was the purpose of the racketeering.
Authorities to target not only the individual criminals, but also the entire organization they belong to.
The entire organization they belong to.
It allows us to prosecute those who are a part of these.
It allows us to prosecute those who are a part. It allows us to prosecute those who are a part. So why was these people that they proclaimed to be helping Mr. Kelly, why were they able to get immunity to testify against Mr. Kelly? If you all identified them as being a part of the enterprise, they should have been charged just as well as Mr. Kelly. But maybe they didn't get charged because the government knew that they couldn't prove that they were a part of the enterprise. This guy is telling, this is a law enforcement. He say it allows us. He's a part of the FBI. It allows us. The man is telling us how the racketeering works and what was the purpose of the racketeering.
Smashes through these criminal networks. RICO enables authorities to target not only the individual criminals, but also the entire organization they belong to. It allows us to prosecute those who are a part of these illegal enterprises, even if they work directly.
And he say, it allows us to prosecute these people. What up, Uncle Ray? It says, even if they weren't directly involved. So that means if you was a part of RSK, whatever part of RSK enterprise you were, even if you wasn't directly involved, you should have been charged. Or I guess you could have been charged, even if you wasn't directly involved. That means if you just answer the phone and that's it, even if you just mop floors, whatever, even if you wasn't directly involved. But most of these people that they call the enterprise that testified, they testified to doing their job duty. But like you say, even if they weren't directly involved, they still could be charged, but it's not to. But if they say this was a criminal enterprise, an individual criminal enterprise, why were the other members free to go? I know it's going, oh, well, they got who they wanted. They didn't want them. They didn't want this. They didn't want that. Hey, man, a crime is a crime. A crime is a crime. And everybody involved in the crime need to go.
But also the entire organization they belong to. It allows us to prosecute those who are a part of these illegal enterprises, even if they weren't directly involved in the criminal acts. That's what we call the enterprise theory of law enforcement. By going after the organization as a whole, the FBI can dismantle the infrastructure that enables crime to flourish. It's like taking down the kingpin and watching the whole criminal empire crumble. RICO is an absolute game changer because it helps connect the dots. Law enforcement can link various criminal activities, even seemingly unrelated ones, to prove the existence of a criminal enterprise. It allows us to build a case by showing a pattern of behavior, and
that's what you kept hearing them say with Mr. Kelly. They kept speaking on this pattern of behavior. This pattern of behavior. Oh, it just shows it's indicative that it shows a pattern of behavior by Mr. Kelly. Oh, it shows a pattern of behavior by Mr. Kelly. Oh, this shows a pattern of behavior by Mr. Kelly. But then when the judge asked them, do you all have proof? Do you all have proof? Man, look here.
to prove the existence of a criminal enterprise. It allows us to build a case by showing a pattern of behavior and the criminal network's interconnected nature. Thanks to RICO, the FBI can bring down drug cartels, organized crime syndicates, and other criminal organizations that pose significant threats to our society. It's a powerful weapon that levels the playing field and ensures that justice prevails. So the next time you hear about racketeering and RICO, remember that it's not just about fighting individual crimes, it's about
but this is what they talked about.
Taking down the entire.
It's not about fighting. Now, that was critical. He said it's not about fighting. It's not about fighting individual crimes. It's not about fighting individual crimes. But they used it to fight an individual crime.
It's about taking down the entire corrupt system. It's about making our communities safer and ensuring that crime doesn't pay. And that's how it works. Have a great day and be.
So, excuse me. I hope you all liked that video. I hope you all liked that video. Did you all like that video? Did you all comprehend that breakdown? Did you all like that video? Put a 1 in the chat if y'all like that video. Put a 1 in the chat if y'all liked that breakdown. Was that broken down enough for you all to understand the racketeering aspect? What is racketeering and how it relates to the RICO? How do they work? And the thing what makes this racketeering so good is that you are allowed to get the individuals, even the ones that wasn't directly involved. Everybody got to go. So now as we move forward, we're going to listen to Jennifer. This is a part of the written argument. Jennifer is challenging the transmission of the STD. We're going to listen in to Miss Tracy. Shout out to Tracy, a view from Tracy Point. And we're going to listen at this. Man, I want y'all to stay here, stay tuned in, because we're going to stop at certain points and we're going to elaborate. So please don't leave. If you're here, don't leave. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that share button. If you haven't already, sub to the channel. And let's listen at what Jennifer argued as far as the transmission of the STD go. Because y'all going to hear Jennifer say some important detailed factors. And this is from the transcripts. This is from the transcripts directly. So let's listen. Shout out to Miss Tracy, a view from Tracy's Point. Shout out to her. If y'all haven't got over there to her channel, go over there and rewatch this video again. Make sure y'all go over there and show love. Hit her like button, hit her share button, sub to her channel if you haven't already. Leave comments under her videos to let her know how much y'all appreciate the work that she's doing. And we're going to keep rolling.
On how long it could take the justices to come back with a decision. So you guys know when I screw up, I don't mind coming back and fessing up and apologizing for apologizing for giving you misinformation. So let's go ahead. The first part of this video will be me talking about the appeals process, and then following that, we will have the clip about Azriel and Faith Rogers and the whole herpes portion of the case. And the reason this is important is because not every state in the United States has laws about transmitting diseases, sexually transmitted diseases. So what the government did was they found 2 states in which Mr. Kelly had actually been with these alleged victims in the case, and then they used the healthcare laws to say that he had committed a crime in transmitting the disease to them. But what came out in the arguments, and what it didn't come out in the arguments, but I wish that Jennifer Bonjean had put emphasis on in the argument, was the fact that, number one, Azriel never proved that she was diagnosed with herpes. What they based it on was the fact that somebody said that they used to go and get the herpes medication for Azriel, but there was no, that I can recall, there was no proof or doctor's information that she had ever gone to a doctor and that she actually was prescribed this medication and was taking the medication. And then the part about Faith is, I believe it was revealed that Faith didn't have genital herpes. What she did was she went to the doctor and she had a cold sore. And so all of these diagnoses happened long after or in the middle of these relationships. So they can't prove when the transmission took place, whether or not either one of them already had the virus before they met Mr. Kelly. And so it's just a lot of, it could have been like a previous partner that transmitted these diseases. And then the last thing was, in both California and New York, I believe that the version of the law that the government used was outdated, and that there were newer versions of it that they did not introduce into trial.
And those newer versions, that got repealed. That in 2018. In 2018 is when they changed the California transmissible disease statute were reconstructed significantly. So in 2018 is when they changed that. They changed that law, but the government instead they still chose to go with the old law versus the new law.
So let's go ahead and jump into this. First, we'll get the procedure for the appeals, and then we will talk about Azriel and Faith and the whole STD scandal. So defendant was convicted of violating the Mann Act in connection with his sexual contact with Azriel. I'm sorry. So we know that Jane in the Eastern District of New York was Azriel Clary. So during two separate trips to California in 2015, in its superseding indictment, the government charged that defendant violated the Mann Act pursuant to Title 18 United States Code Section 2421A when he arranged travel for Azriel to California first in around April or May of 2015 and again in September, October 2015. With the intent of exposing her to herpes. And then she has Racketeering Acts 8A, 9A, and Count 2. Alternatively, the government...
And this is Jennifer Bunjean's written argument to the government.
Charged that defendant violated the Mann Act pursuant...
For those who say that, oh, she's not doing a good job, or she's not bringing up certain things. She mentioned a lot of the concerns in this written argument.
To Title 18 United States Code 2422A when he induced Azriel to travel to California for the purpose of exposing her to herpes, Racketeering Act 8B. The government also charged that defendant violated the Mann Act when he enticed Azriel, a minor, to travel to California in September and October 2015 for the purpose of violating California Penal Law Sections 261.5A and 261.5B, Racketeering Acts 9A and 9D, and counts 3 and 4. And when I tell y'all, they had the jury so confused with all these counts and stuff, they had no clue what they were ruling on. So A, insufficient evidence of intent. Because defendant's motivating purpose in arranging travel for Azriel to accompany him on tour in California on both occasions had absolutely, I think she meant to put nothing in here. She had absolutely to do with exposing her to herpes. Yeah, I think she meant nothing to do with exposing her to herpes. The government failed to prove Section 2421A violations of the Mann Act. Similarly, defendant had no intent to induce or coerce Azriel to travel to California to expose her to herpes as required by Section 2422A. Thus, Racketeering Acts 8A, 8B, 9A, and Count 2 must be vacated. Section 2421A provides that whoever knowingly transports an individual in interstate or foreign commerce or in any territory or possession of the United States with intent that such individual engages in prostitution or any sexual activity for which any person can be charged with a criminal offense or attempts to do so shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 10 years or both. The government's superseding indictment, Racketeering Acts 8A and 9A and Count 2, charged that the sexual activity for which defendant could be charged as a violation of California was a violation of California Health and Safety Code Section 12290, which prohibits a defendant from willfully exposing someone to a contagious, infectious, or communicable disease. seemingly in the circuit, like others, to establish intent for Section 2421A purposes, the government must prove that a quote unquote significant or motivating purpose behind the travel was to engage the individual in the charged illegal sexual activity. And then she cites United States versus Miller, which was heard in the Second Circuit in 1998, United States versus An Soon Kim, which was heard in the Second Circuit in 2012, United States versus Hayward, which was heard in the Third Circuit in 2004. And then she also says to see Mortensen versus United States, which was a case from 1944, holding that an intent must be the dominant motive of such interstate movement. The illegal sexual activity must have not been merely incidental to the trip. So basically, they were saying that she's saying that the fact that they had sex was merely incidental, but the purpose had to been was for him to have woken up that morning and said, okay, I know I have herpes. I am going to infect Azriel with herpes when we go to California. So that's basically what she's saying there. So under the significant or motivating purpose standard, the government's evidence of intent was insufficient because the record fails to show that defendant intended to transport Azriel to California at any time for the purpose of exposing her to herpes. The prohibited sexual activity charge. The government and the district court agreed that the purpose of the travel was not to expose Azriel to herpes, but argued that the motivating purpose in bringing Azriel to California was to have sex, and that because those sexual activities could have resulted in defendant being charged for violating the California Health Code for failing to disclose his herpes diagnosis, the government's proof were adequate. So this logic is gravely flawed as it reads the intent element entirely out of the statute. Let's see, Section 2421A, violation of the Mann Act, punishes travel plus intent to commit a prohibited sexual activity. In this case, that prohibited sexual activity is a violation of the California public health laws. The act is not so broad as to punish travel plus a violation of a state law that results after the fact. Indeed, the United States Supreme Court held long ago in Mortensen versus United States in 1944 that the intent must be found to exist before the conclusion of the interstate journey. So he would have had to have said, I'm going to give her herpes prior to having her come to California. So see also United States versus Haslig.
But the problem that we have with this whole California thing is, like, it's like the stuff that we understand is like, if you already having sex with somebody, if you've already had sex with somebody previously, you just can't say just because you in another state that say, oh, we're gonna have sex. Well, I'll have sex with you in one state, but this state doesn't have any laws to say it's illegal to do this, and that. But if we go to another state and have sex with this state say that it's illegal. Well, you can't say this is the first time that we had sex if we was already having a sexual relationship. If we was already having a sexual relationship, how could you just say, oh, this is the first time that we had sex, and this is the first time this is the first time you was exposed to an STD in this state because of this state has laws that prohibit the transmission of STDs, but me and you have already had sexual encounter previously before. Like, but these people, they took and they tried to make shit fit what they wanted to fit. But like I say, we still have to go back. And when you go to these text messages, man, people can say what they want and they can feel how they feel. You know, everybody have their view on the text messages. But when I look at the text messages and I see the star witness saying, this is the mama telling her that you better stop taking shit for granted. That man just spent 20K or better on you, ain't getting no coochie, and you not in his shows. Like, this just makes me like, how? Like, this is her and her mama having a conversation about what's going on while she's in California. You know what I'm saying? This shit is real. This is real. This is real. You know what I'm saying? So this like it doesn't. Why shouldn't we have questions about certain shit? Why shouldn't we have questions about certain shit? You got the same. This is the same lady who said that. She said another reason I know. Hold on, let me get this up there. It said another reason I know they were trying to set him up, but offered the police. But after the police came in the room and saw that there wasn't any wrongdoing going on, Ma and Pops realized that their plan pretty much did not work. So obviously they decided to back off their plan at that time. Brother, I'm telling the truth. I'm telling you the truth. I cannot make this up. Then later on, after I started getting to know him, and what I mean by that is becoming friends, I admit I started developing feelings for him and went from being excited to be around R. Kelly, the celebrity, to falling in love with Robert, the person. Even though I wanted to have sex, but she was already having sex. She was already sexually active before Robert. She was already sexually active before R. Kelly. She said, and even though I wanted to have sex with him and actually hinted towards that a few times, I backed up from it because he was not showing the same interest. I told me, and I told Ma that on several occasions, but she just kept on pushing me, just tried to make me have some type of sexual relation with him. Now, this is the mama. You trying to force your daughter to have sex with a man who's not trying to have sex with her.
Seventh Circuit from 2017. The crime begins in the state where the defendant set out with the intent to cross the state line and commit the crime. United States versus Griffith, which was heard in the Southern District of New York in 2000. Quoting Comenetti versus United States, and that was a case from 1917. The purpose of the Mann Act was to punish the movement in interstate commerce of women and girls with a view to the accomplishment of the unlawful purposes prohibited. The district court is simply wrong when it suggests that to satisfy the intent element, a general intent to engage in legal sex that ultimately could be charged for reasons entirely unrelated to the original intent of the travel, satisfies the elements of a Section 2421A violation. Consider the hypothetical where a man arranges to have his adult paramour travel to another state for sexual purposes, but once again, she declines his sexual advances and he sexually assaults her. Under the district's court logic, this would constitute a Mann Act violation, which it decidedly is not. It surely would constitute a crime under California law, but not a Mann Act violation. The Mann Act was never intended to be a tool to punish violations of state law, particularly violations of public health laws. The United States Supreme Court has warned courts to refrain from attributing to Congress an exercise of power to displace states in their traditional role of enforcing state criminal law.
And it say the Supreme Court have warned these people about doing this shit.
Which it decidedly is not. It surely would constitute a crime under California law, but not a Mann Act violation. The Mann Act was never intended to be a tool to punish violations of state law, particularly violations of public health laws. The United States Supreme Court has warned courts to refrain from attributing to Congress an exercise of power to displace states in their traditional role of enforcing state criminal laws. And that was United States versus.
The courts have been warned about the type of shit that these people are doing.
Lopez, a case that was heard in 1995. With that established, the government simply did not prove that when defendant arranged for Azriel to travel to California in either April 2015 or September 2015, he did so with the motivating purpose to expose her to herpes in violation of California Health Code. Similarly, defendant did not, as a matter of law, violate Section 2422A, where even if he induced Azriel to travel to California in April 2015, he didn't, as argued. It was not with the intent or purpose to expose her to herpes. The government charged defendant with multiple violations of the Mann Act in connection with 2 sexual encounters with Faith in New York. Specifically, the government charged defendant with violating Title 18, Sections 2421A and Section 2422A in connection with a sexual encounter that occurred in New York on May 18, 2017, Racketeering Acts 12A and 12B, and counts 6 and 7, and another encounter that occurred on February 2nd, 2018, Racketeering Acts 14A and 14B, and counts 8 and 9. A. Insufficient evidence of intent. Racketeering Acts 12A and 14A, counts 6 and 8, charge that defendant transported Faith to New York on separate occasions, May 18, 2017 and February 2nd, 2018, with the intent to engage her in sexual activity that would expose her to herpes in violation of New York Penal Law Section 120.20, reckless endangerment, and public health law, Section 2307. Section 2307, knowingly exposure of infectious venereal disease. Because there is no link connecting defendant's transportation of Faith with an intent to expose her to herpes, defendant cannot, as a matter of law, be guilty of the charge Section 2421 violations. As discussed at length supra, the government must prove that the charge illegal sexual activity is a significant or motivating purpose behind the transportation. Because the defendant's purported violation of a New York public health law prohibiting him from exposing a partner to herpes and reckless endangerment was incidental to Faith's trip rather than a motivating purpose in transporting Faith to New York, the intent requirement of the statute cannot be sustained. As previously discussed, defendant must possess an intent to carry out the prohibited sexual conduct prior to travel. The government misled the jury concerning the law, which would explain why the jury returned guilty verdicts on these counts. When it argued that,
and this Jennifer was arguing, this is what she was stating in the brief the other day. She said, I'm not challenging the jury instructions. I am challenging the instructions that the government gave the jury. She said the jury instructions is the same as, it's consistent with what it's always been. But what she was saying is that she's challenging what the government told the jury to do, not what the jury instructions said.
relations. As discussed at length supra, the government must prove that the charge illegal sexual activity is a significant or motivating purpose behind the transportation. Because the defendant's purported violation of a New York public health law prohibiting him from exposing a partner to herpes and reckless endangerment was incidental to Faith's trip rather than a motivating purpose in transporting Faith to New York, the intent requirement of the statute cannot be sustained. As previously discussed, defendant must possess an intent to carry out the prohibited sexual conduct prior to travel. The government misled the jury concerning the law, which would explain why the jury returned guilty verdicts on these counts. When it argued that defendant transported Faith to New York for the purpose of sex, the only remaining issue is whether the sexual activity that he brought her here for was illegal, and it was. The the argument falsely suggested that the government only needed to show a general intent to transport Faith to New York for sex, irrespective of whether he possessed an intent to engage in illegal sexual activity. As addressed supra, the government proves a section 2421A by showing transportation plus intent to commit unlawful, and she has that in parentheses, sexual activity, not intent to commit lawful sexual behavior that may result in illegal conduct. Thus, the government was required to show the motivating purpose behind defendant's transportation of Faith was to expose her to a venereal disease in violation of the specific offense charged. The same is true in connection with Section 2422A offense, where even if the government showed that defendant persuaded, induced, enticed, or coerced Faith to travel to New York, his motivating purpose in doing so was not an intent to expose her to herpes. And so she's repeating a lot of what she said about Azriel in regards to the sexually transmitted disease charges. So B, insufficient evidence of coercion or enticement. Racketeering Acts 12B, Count 7, and 14B, Count 9 similarly charged that defendant did knowingly and intentionally persuade, induce, entice, coerce Faith to travel in interstate commerce to engage in sexual activity that would expose her. I think she left out another word here. Should be expose her to herpes in violation of NYPL, New York Penal Law, Section 120.20, and New York Public Health Law, Section 2307. The government failed to prove that defendant took any action to induce, persuade, entice, or coerce Faith into traveling to New York or on May 18, 2017, and again on February 2nd, 2018. Defendant's mere status as a famous recording artist cannot satisfy the government burden to prove enticement or coercion. Rather, the undisputed evidence shows only that defendant invited an adult woman to meet him in New York, and she accepted. In March 2017, Faith attended one of defendant's concerts in San Antonio, Texas, with her sister. Faith had an opportunity to meet defendant at an after party backstage along with other individuals. Defendant and Faith had a conversation during the after party, and defendant provided her with his phone number. After that encounter, Faith and defendant kept in touch via text and FaceTime. The conversations were normal, appropriate, and pleasant. Defendant complimented her appearance. Faith testified that defendant referred to himself as Daddy during their conversations. According to Faith, defendant asked to be called by Daddy, and she agreed. Faith did not testify that defendant forced her to call him Daddy. Indeed, defendant and Faith had met exactly one time when Faith began calling him Daddy. On the issue of travel, Faith had this to say. Question: in your communications with the defendant, how, if at all, did the topic of traveling to see him come up? Answer: he had informed me that he was on tour right now, or excuse me, at the time. He was on tour. So he was just saying his schedule was kind of crazy, but whenever I wanted to come see him, I could. And he just said that he could arrange the days or just let him know when I wanted to come hang out, but that it would be fun. I would get to see, how it is, how he is on tour, things like that. Defendant told Faith that if she wanted to come to his shows, she could contact his assistant and he would arrange it for her. Faith then contacted defendant's assistant who made travel arrangements for her. Originally, Faith was going to travel to Chicago, but ultimately traveled to New York for one of defendant's performances. According to Faith, defendant informed her that he was having a show in New York and that he would like for her to come, hang out. It was going to be fun, so I said yes. Defendant's assistant arranged her travel, and Faith traveled to New York to attend defendant's performance and hang out. The Second Circuit has made clear that the terms persuade, induce, entice, and coerce are words of common usage that have planned. United States versus Wakar, Second Circuit, 2001, United States versus Gagliardi, Second Circuit, 2007. The court distinguishes this conduct from merely asking, which is not sufficient to demonstrate criminality, recognizing that there might be some uncertainty as to the precise demarcation between persuading, which is criminalized, and asking, which is not. And she put that same language in the part about Azriel. So no rational juror could conclude from Faith's testimony that defendant coerced or enticed her to travel to New York for the purpose of giving her herpes, no less. By Faith's account, defendant was polite, generous, and appropriate, leaving it entirely at her discretion to come to New York to attend the concert. Defendant's invitation does not equate to inducement or persuasion. C. New York Penal Code 120.20, reckless endangerment. To the extent defendant's Mann Act convictions rest on violations of NYPL 120.20, the government failed to sustain its burden because unprotected sex with a person who carries the herpes virus does not establish a substantial risk of physical injury. No New York court has ever found as such. Indeed, as best as defendant can tell, no one has ever been prosecuted in the state of New York for reckless endangerment for exposing a sexual partner to herpes who was not infected with herpes. Needless to say, the law on this issue is lacking. At the outset, Faith did not contract genital herpes. Faith claimed that at some point in time after she visited New York, she was diagnosed with herpes type 1 after getting a cold sore.
Now pay attention to this is when it get real good. This is when it get real good.
The law on this issue is lacking. At the outset, Faith did not contract genital herpes. Faith claimed that at some point in time after she visited New York, she was diagnosed with herpes type 1 after getting a cold sore on her mouth. She did not testify that she contracted genital herpes, and there is no evidence that she did. Presumably, even the government would concede that cold sores caused by herpes type 1 and carried by 50% of the population does not cause a substantial risk of serious physical injury. Furthermore, as a matter of law, unprotected sex with someone who has genital herpes does not establish a substantial risk of serious physical injury. According to the city health department, 1 in 4 New Yorkers has genital herpes. And then she has a couple of websites, one from WebMD and the other from New York Daily News. The one from WebMD talks about pain management for herpes. And then the one from the New York Daily News is where she gets the quote about 1/4 of city residents in New York have herpes. So she goes on to say, if sexual intercourse with individuals who merely carry the genital herpes virus carries the substantial risk of serious physical injury, New York City would have astronomical hospitalization and death rates from the transmission of herpes. Although Dr. Hoskins, the government's expert witness, identified some serious but unusual health risks associated with the contraction of genital herpes, the offense of reckless endangerment requires a showing of a substantial risk of serious physical injury. To be clear, defendant accepts that in rare circumstances, someone afflicted with herpes could suffer serious physical injury, but here the government did not prove that they faced substantial risk or being infected with herpes, or that a substantial risk that would suffer the rare complications that would satisfy the serious injury, physical injury element. Dr. Hoskins estimated that there were, oh God, Dr. Hoskins estimated that there exists a 10% to 20% chance of a risk of transmission when someone is managing their infections with Valtrex, as defendant was. This hardly qualifies as a high risk of transmitting the disease, nor does it consider the even lower risk that someone who contracts the disease will suffer the rare complications that could qualify as serious physical injury. Herpes is not deadly, it's treatable, if not curable, and rarely causes any serious protracted health impairments. Complications associated with herpes carries a low rather than substantial risk of serious physical injury as defined by the statute. The government cannot, as a matter of law, sustain this claim. In short, merely having unprotected sex with someone who carries the virus cannot, as a matter of law, create a substantial risk of one, being infected with the disease, and two, suffering the rare complications that qualify as a serious physical injury. The government cannot point to a single case that supports the prosecution's expansive reading of the statute. D. New York Public Health Law, Section 2307. To the extent defendants' Mann Act convictions rest on violations of New York Public Health Law, Section 2307, the government failed to sustain its burden because there was no evidence presented at trial demonstrating that defendant was infected with a venereal disease.
What did I just say, y'all? Can y'all hear what? Did y'all hear what they say? Did y'all hear what they just said? There was no evidence at the trial to demonstrate that the defendant was positive for this STD.
To the extent defendants' Mann Act convictions rest on violations of New York Public Health Law, Section.
Hold on. What's going on, Miss Angie? What's going on, everybody that's coming in? Shout out to everybody that's coming in the chat. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Make sure y'all hit that share button. And most importantly, sub to the channel, man. If you like to donate to the channel, you can do so at $ Big Val Opinion, or you can hit the super chat, super thanks. If you have any information that you would like to share, you can send it to me at bigvalopinion88@gmail.com. I'm gonna play that back. It was no evidence that presented that this man had an STD.
Section 2307, the government failed to sustain its burden because there was no evidence presented at trial demonstrating that defendant was infected with a venereal disease during his sexual interactions with Faith, which explains why she never contracted genital herpes from the defendant. New York State is burdened because there was no evidence presented at trial demonstrating that the defendant was infected with a venereal disease during his sexual interactions with Faith, which explains why she never contracted genital herpes from the defendant. New York public health law reads, is burdened because there was no evidence presented at trial demonstrating that defendant was infected with a venereal disease during his sexual interactions with Faith, which explains why she never contracted genital herpes from the defendant. New York public is burdened because there was no evidence presented at trial demonstrating that defendant was infected with a venereal disease during his sexual interactions with Faith, which explains why she never contracted genital herpes from the defendant. New York public health law reads as follows: Section 2307, venereal disease, person knowing himself to be infected. Any person who, knowing himself or herself to be infected with an infectious venereal disease, has sexual intercourse with another shall be guilty of a misdemeanor. By the plain terms of this antiquated provision, a defendant must know himself to be infected with an infectious venereal disease to violate the provision. The government and the district court interpreted infected to mean merely carrying an infectious disease rather than having a herpes-related infection. The statute is silent as to the definition of infected. The word infected in the statute must be interpreted to mean active infection to avoid constitutional concerns. It is axiomated that most courts, state and federal, would generally interpret statutes so as to avoid constitutional difficulties. Expressions Hair Design versus Schneiderman, which was heard in the Second Circuit in 2015, as the evidence at trial showed, herpes is a virus that may constitute a venereal disease, but it does not follow that having the virus equates to having an infection. That said, an active outbreak of herpes where someone experiences blistering and open sores that will give them notice that they are contagious would qualify as an infection. The only logical and constitutional reading of the statute requires the government to show that defendant was experiencing a herpes infection at the time of his sexual encounter with Faith, which would have put the defendant on notice of the possibility of transmitting the disease to a sexual partner. If this is not the case, then New Yorkers are violating this public health law every minute of every day without any consequences. So the government presented no evidence that defendant was experiencing a herpes-related infection during his sexual encounters with Faith, and Faith admitted that she did not contract genital herpes from the defendant. Accordingly, the government failed to prove a violation of Section 2307 of the New York Public Health Law. I think that's what the PHL stood for. Yeah. So because New York Public Health Law Section 2307 is unconstitutionally vague, defendants' Mann Act convictions predicated on that law must be vacated. Go ahead, leave your comments below, rate the video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And until the next time, I shall talk to you guys later. Enjoy your Saturday.
Shout out to Miss Tracy. Shout out to Miss Tracy. for that great content. Shout out to Miss Tracy for that great content. Most definitely. And there's more. I mean, if you all, it's up to you all. If y'all want to go, if y'all want to listen to Jennifer argument as far as when dating goes, as far as Geronda and Faith, the forced labor, that's up to you all. If y'all want to hear Jennifer argument as far as the forced labor go, that's up to you all, or we can do that on another live and keep those to keep these lives separate. To keep the lives separate, we can come back and do another live when it talks about Geronda and Faith, the forced labor, so that we can kind of key in on the things that Jennifer is questioning about. But my problem is this. Like, I mean, Miss Angie, she put a comment in and she said that the government don't have to prove that the defendant was infected with this STD. But you gotta, for me, I just saw in Carolina, I'm not sure was it South Carolina, North Carolina, where a young lady put out a rumor that this guy was positive for HIV. And she went around telling everybody that this guy had HIV and all these people were surrounding this guy's house, threatening this guy, threatening his family to do harm to him and his family, because I guess this guy was, he had other sexual partners. But this girl got mad because the guy no longer wanted to deal with her. So she thought it was okay to put out a rumor that this guy had HIV. So the guy went to the doctor, got tested, put his test results online that showed that he wasn't infected with without having HIV or anything like that. So you know what? They end up this young lady got charged. I don't understand it to that degree, but I mean, Ms. Angie say they dealing with exposure, but I can't expose someone to something that I don't have. And then at the same time, if what if they were the one who was exposing the defendant to an STD? What if they were the ones carrying the STD? This could go so many ways. And I mean, we can look at the law, and I understand the law is the law, but the law is the law for a reason, man. You can't say, I just don't see that I don't see it being constitutionally right for you to accuse someone of giving you an STD that doesn't have the STD. How can I expose you to it if I don't have it? I mean, I'm just trying to understand. I would like to understand that point, but I guess I have my sentiments of my way of understanding it, and I guess there's a legal way of understanding it that would never be understood to me. But just listen, like how could people? I mean, I'm still trying to understand, like, how are we as citizens of this country okay with the Constitution or the government charging someone insisting that they expose someone to something that they don't even have, or they were that they wasn't tested positive for having. And even though, like they say, even if there was the case, it's a misdemeanor at best. But at the same time, you have these women who saying that they wasn't forced, they wasn't forced to do nothing. They wasn't bribed to sleep with the man. I mean, why do we have to make this so different when it comes to R. Kelly than when it comes to the average citizen, the average everyday citizen? You don't see the average citizen walking around, every day. Like they say in New York, the exposure, like the high exposure is over 50%. No, you don't see these people, these guys or ladies that's probably having multiple partners, being charged with exposure, or man act. We don't, I mean, this shit go on. I mean, it goes on a lot more than we know. But I guess because it's R. Kelly, it's so different with him than it is with anybody else. So if you all want to see the video where Jennifer talks about the forced labor of Geronda and Faith Rogers, if you all want to see that now, or do you all want to come back later on and talk about that video when she talks about the forced labor of Geronda and Faith? And you all are going to be surprised that some of the things that were testified to, especially by Faith Rogers. The thing with Faith Rogers is she never called herself a victim. She never associated herself with being a victim. She said that she had a choice to do the things that she did, but she never called herself a victim. But the government insists calling her victim. Ms. Ann say, Larry, I believe they had her medical records, but her testimony is also evidence. It's up to the jury to believe her most cited circumstantials anyway. Yeah, I don't think no medical records from any of these females was presented, but like you say, they word of mouth was the evidence that the government chose to go with. But like I say, the Supreme Court had, like I say, the Supreme Court had already warned these courts about charge, about these type of things that they're dealing with in having things like this come up to the higher courts. This is something that the lower court should have dealt with accordingly. But I guess because it's R. Kelly, then it has to be looked at differently, But both of these women, Azrael was already sexually active before Mr. Kelly. Faith Rogers was already sexually active before Mr. Kelly. And if this man had as many sex partners as they claim he had, and if this man was having as much sex as they claim he had, man, you can't tell me that, man, these few little handful of women, you know what I'm saying? These little handful of women, we talking about R. Kelly, the guy that they say every time he woke up, went to sleep, every hour, every minute on the hour, this man was having sex with these women, multiple women, quadruple women, hundreds of women. And then one woman saying she got genital, one woman saying she got oral. Like, come on, man. If the shit don't raise questions, at least, like, you know what, some, you know what I'm saying? Some shit just, come on, man. Some shit just like, what? Then you got Faith Rogers say that she's self-medicating herself. Faith Rogers says she's self-medicating herself. She's not even taking no medicine. You see what I'm saying? Faith Rogers says she's not taking any medicine. Now Dr. Oz looked at her ass and like, what? So you mean to tell me that you claiming you got a STD and you not taking any medication? Well, of course, Angie. Bunjean wasn't the she wasn't the trial lawyer at that time. And like Bunjean said in the oral argument, she said, I'm not challenging the jury instructions because the jury instructions is consistent with what all of these type of cases have been. But she said what I am questioning is what the government instructed to the jury. You know what I'm saying? I know people. If you can look at this and don't feel as though nothing is wrong or there's no issue with any of this information, like I don't understand that. That's just me personally. If you can't hear this out and look at it and say there's nothing that raises suspicious, I mean, how can someone expose you to something that they don't have? I just don't understand it. I can't, and I won't, and I probably never understand that. But I'm moving on from that. I'm quite sure there'll be plenty of debates about, the transmission part of it. But what I do understand is that I just be patient, man, and allow this stuff to take its course, man. I'll allow this information to take its course, and I'm gonna reserve my opinions as far as certain things go, but I still just don't. I can never understand how can someone expose another person to something that they don't have. The man doctor, they asked R.Kelly doctor during the trial, did he ever test positive for the STD? And the man say no, all his tests was negative. So if all his tests were negative and they have it, don't that sound like the exposure was the other way around? I'm just saying. That's just shit that that just shit that I guess that's just my way of thinking, man. I don't ask people to think like me. I don't ask people to agree with me. But if his doctor say that all of his tests were negative, then and if their tests come back positive, then it sounds like they exposed him to the STD. That's just my theory or my simple way of looking at things. I know it might just be my way of looking at it because I'm from the country, man. Shit just different. So I asked the question if you all want to continue with the video about forced labor, the forced labor of Geronda and the forced labor of Faith Rogers. Do y'all want to continue with that video, or you all want to come back later on and do another live? put continue in the chat if you want to keep going, put continue, or if you want to come back later, let's say come back, we can come back later. I need to know if y'all gonna stay around. It's like another 20 minutes, another 20-minute video. And shout out to everybody that's coming in the chat, man. If y'all haven't already sub to the channel, man, make sure you do so. Like I say, if you like to donate to the channel, you can do so by $ Big Val Opinion, or you can also reach me at you can also do super chat, super thanks, or you can also do, if you have any information you would like for me to review on the channel, you can send it to me over at bigvalopinion88@gmail.com. Brother Jeff, man, what's going on? I got a question for you before you chime in. I know you at work.
Oh yeah, what up, Val? What's going on? I've been listening.
I'm trying to understand something, Jeff. How can I expose somebody to something that I never tested positive for? That I don't carry?
Man, I was just listening at that, and I say, man, I got to call in because I've been listening off and on, but I got to get some clarity because I heard that. I said, did I hear what the hell I just heard in the transcript? Like is it a fact that they don't have any evidence saying that he got anything to do with some hurt, or did I just hear that wrong?
That was Jennifer Bunjean put in her oral argument. It was never proven during the trial that he was infected with this STD.
You know, and that's crazy because I know he had to go through Cook County Jail, right? So when they first arrested him in 2019 for the child support stuff. Now going through Cook County Jail, you know, it in processing, it's somebody that you got to see called the dick doctor, right? And when you see the dick doctor, they gonna stick a tube up your dick. Pardon my language, but you know, a tube up your dick, and they gonna test you for any and every thing that's known to mankind. So if he had anything, the evidence should be in that first time he went to through Cook County Jail to say that. So for them to say that they don't have any evidence, for them not to present that when they in fact should have it, is preponderance. You know what I'm saying?
And you feel me? He got locked up in Florida too.
Right.
You remember back in the day, the 2002 situation, he got locked up in Florida and sent up and went up to Chicago. You go to that prison, they testing you to make sure you got shit.
Yeah. So for them not to present that, or have any facts that he had it, they playing major games. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna yield back as well, you know, because I'm at work. I'm gonna mute up because it's gonna get a little loud. But I see my bro Sir Miguel in the building. What up, Sir Miguel?
Good morning, Big Vi. JT. What's going on, brothers?
Good morning. They repealed that law in California in 2018.
I was just about to say that, Big Vi. You got it. That's all I wanted to add to it. They repealed that. You know what I mean? And they used the outdated one, so that should be an issue too. But I don't know which judge said it, but I heard somebody say there's a lot of issues here.
Oh, right here. He said, you
know what I'm saying?
He said there's a lot of issues here. That's why I named the live bit. There are a lot of issues here.
Yeah, so but you know, at the end of the day, man, I'm gonna ride till the wheels fall off. You know, as I've always said, God put Bonjean at the right place at the right time, the right reason and purpose for R. Kelly. We just gonna continue to pray and we're gonna hold it down.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, yeah, peace and blessings to you, bro. But yeah, man, that right there, man. This case right here is it's so many different layers to it. It's like peeling back an
Yeah,
onion, you
and you
know.
can't, and you can't change the first time. You can't change the first time someone had a sexual encounter to when you want it to be the first time they had a sexual encounter. And I'm saying that to say for the government to say the first time that Jane Doe number 5 was exposed to this STD was in California. Well, in the court, y'all testified that they had a sexual encounter at the Dolphin Hotel. Whether it was oral, some people say, well, it was oral sex at the Dolphin Hotel. Well, if it was oral, that's a sexual encounter. That's equal to exposure, right?
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
That sound like exposure to me.
Yeah. The whole thing with Faith as well. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like that was confusing because she was all on television talking about, oh, I had to put my face by this discussing disease, and then next thing you know, you hear her mom coming out saying that she didn't
She
have it.
don't
So
have genital, she
generally,
have oral. But then you hear Faith say, I don't take medication, I self-medicate. And Dr. Oz looked at her like, are you fucking serious?
Right. Yeah, he saw that look on his face.
yeah. Yeah, it's like it is. I know they say because I was trying to understand with that as well because they say that it's selective as far as if they having an outbreak, if they can transmit it or not.
Hold on,
But
Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
Tracy is reading Jennifer written argument that she submitted to the appellate court. That's the written argument. That's not the lawsuit.
yeah,
Well, she did a full video on it, but now she's doing the breakdown of the video that she did. It was like a 5-hour video she did, but now she's breaking it down to argument by argument. But it's Jennifer written
Mm-hmm.
argument, and she's reading the written argument that was submitted to the appellate court.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. I just hope everybody, man, fall back and let Jennifer do her job and just pray for her. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
it.
Because
But you know our people, bro. Our people so quick to jump the ship. They'll look at the ship that passed by and say, "Oh, they going fast. I need to get on that one." And 5 miles up the road, that ship be sinking, and the ship they was on still cruising.
that's our people, man. Our people so
Yeah.
turncoat, man. Quick, they turn quick on you, bro. They
Fickle,
turn
man.
quick on you. Yeah, man. They love you, they hate you, they love you again, you know?
Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
But yeah, man, I just wanted to just jump in real quick, man. I'm on the road, so
Okay.
Yeah, I got to
I know
cut
you
out
probably
too, man. Much love, peace and
All right.
blessings to y'all, brothers.
yeah, much love, man.
I'm finna
Yes,
play the
sir.
next video by Tracy, and she's gonna talk about the forced labor.
Okay.
Uh,
Well, look, man, y'all have a beautiful day. You know what I'm saying? And then I'll be listening while I'm driving and so forth and so on because I know it's gonna cut out. But keep doing your thing, nephew. Hold it down.
Appreciate it,
For
man.
sure.
Most definitely.
For sure. And all the people in the chat, hold that shit down. Keep doing
All
your
right.
thing. I'm out. All right.
Shout out to thanks to V White for the donation. It's greatly appreciated. Most definitely, greatly appreciated.
Eastern District of New York. They are going to have oral arguments for that appeal. And as I explained in the prior videos, that Jennifer Bonjean actually appealed to the Eastern District of New York. Of course, Ann Dunley denied that appeal. So then she appealed to the U.S. Circuit, the Second Circuit, who supersedes the Eastern District of New York or oversees the Eastern District of New York. And they have agreed to hear Mr. Kelly's appeal. And so what's going to take place on March 18th, tomorrow, or possibly the 19th, I may have the dates mixed up, but what is going to take place is oral arguments, and oral arguments are only about 15 minutes. And the reason I am doing these recap videos is because at the Northern District of Illinois appeals hearing with the Court of Appeals, I believe it's the Seventh Circuit for Illinois, but people were shocked to find out that these hearings are only like 15 minutes. And what I try to explain is that they received like hundreds of pages of documents from Jennifer Bonjean over a year ago. She submitted all of the transcripts, the case filings, every motion that she filed with Ann Dunley that Ann Dunley kicked back to her. All of that has already been sent to the Second Circuit. They've already reviewed it. They've agreed to hear Mr. Kelly's case. So tomorrow is the oral arguments where they'll basically just ask one or two questions about things that they're not clear about, and to get more information from Ms. Bonjean as well as the prosecutors in that case. They'll ask them some questions and let them speak, and then they will take the case under advisement and decide if they want to rule in Mr. Kelly's favor or if they are going to uphold his conviction and his sentencing. And this could take, so don't be alarmed, this could take up to 18 months. You guys know with the Bill Cosby case, I think it was maybe a little over the 18 months before they finally came back with a decision to overturn his conviction. So don't expect a response like in the next week, the next month, or maybe even the next 6 months. This could take up to a year and a half for them to come back with a response. It's really up to the court how soon they want to take this under advisement and when they want to give out a ruling. So with that being said, in this video, we are going to talk about the forced labor charge against Mr. Kelly concerning Faith Rogers and that girl, Geronda Pace, or Geronda Johnson, whatever she's going by these days. And this is on the bad acts part of it, where they're saying, the government is saying that Mr. Kelly forced them into labor, even though neither one of their testimony said anything about forced labor. And so let's go ahead and get into this, just to refresh your memory that this is one of the things that is part of the appeal.
With the Planet Fitness Black Card, you don't just get a great workout, you get a great perk out, because your membership is packed with perks.
Government failed to prove defendant guilty of forced labor of Geronda Pace and Faith Rogers based on an isolated sex act that neither victim alleged was forced. So it says the government alleged that defendant committed the crimes of forced labor when he directed Geronda and Faith to perform an act of oral sex on him on January 23rd, 2010 and January 13th, 2018, respectively. Where neither Geronda nor Faith characterized the isolated sex act as forced, no rational jury could conclude that defendant knowingly obtained or agreed to obtain any labor or services from them. These charges are yet another example of the government's transparent effort to stretch a statute far beyond its intended purpose to reach conduct that can no longer be reached by state authorities. So it says a conviction of forced labor, which is Title 18, United States Code, Section 1589, requires the government to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that one, the defendant obtained the labor or services of another person, two, through inter alia, threats of serious harm, and three, the defendant acted knowingly. Okay, and so now I'm going to look up inter alia and let you guys know what that means. So inter alia is Latin for among other things. So sort of like etc., etc., etc. That this is all included together. Okay, and so it says threats of serious harm, and three, the defendant acted knowingly, United States versus Marcus, which was a case heard in the Eastern District of New York in 2007. The statute does not define labor of services, but is given its ordinary meaning, i.e., labor means the expenditure of physical or mental effort, especially when fatiguing, difficult, or compulsory, while service, and services in quotation, is defined as, quote unquote, the performance of work commanded or paid for by another. So the United States versus Marcus, which was heard in the Second Circuit in 2010, additionally, the government must establish a causal link between the labor and services provided by the person and the threat of serious harm. Section 1589 is intended to address serious trafficking or cases where traffickers threaten harm to third persons, restrain their victims without physical violence or injury, or threaten dire consequences by means other than overt violence. The harm or threat of harm, considered from the vantage point of a reasonable person in the place of the victim, must be sufficiently serious to compel that person to remain in her condition of servitude when she otherwise would have left. And we touched on this in the last video when I was talking about these sex trafficking, these fake sex trafficking busts that they have here, where they'll arrest like 200 people, be all over the news, and they're basically Johns, like people who have gone to have sex with prostitutes, but they have just like thinned the line on what is sex trafficking and what is prostitution and kind of meld it all together. But sex trafficking is way more serious because these people live in fear of their lives if they try to leave the people who are trafficking them. And so we know that Geronda and Faith didn't experience any of that. So I don't even know what they're talking about. So then it goes on and says, according to the government, on January 2010, defendant violated the forced labor statute by using threats of violence to obtain labor, an act of oral sex, from Geronda. Accepting the government's evidence in its best light, Geronda described an isolated incident in which the defendant assaulted her because he was angry that she disrespected him. Geronda testified that after the assault, she sat down with the defendant in the VIP room and he instructed her to perform oral sex on him. Geronda complied. Geronda did not testify that defendant threatened her, forced her, or even demanded that she give him oral sex. Geronda did not claim that she feared defendant would assault her again if she declined the request. Geronda did not even testify that she did not want to provide the defendant with oral sex. After the incident, Geronda left defendant's home of her own free will. And if y'all recall, Geronda said she told him she had to go up the street to her uncle's house to get some shoes. And he said, okay. Now that don't sound like nobody being held against their will, right? And had he ever met this uncle that lived up the street? Was there really an uncle who lived up the street? No, there was not. So accepting Geronda's account as true, which we don't, because she is a liar, pants on fire, and even her sisters have came out and said that Geronda sat there and lied throughout this entire trial. And then her friend Kiona also said that Geronda was a liar. Now, why none of these people were on that stand testifying on Mr. Kelly's behalf? I've heard different stories, like they couldn't afford travel and the defense didn't have any money to pay for their travel, that the government threatened them with other stuff, that this might come out, or you could be charged because you knew Geronda had lied about her age and she was really underage. Yeah, I just heard a whole bunch of reasons as to why none of these people showed up who could have testified and put this mess to an end. So accepting Geronda's account as true, it simply does not establish an act of forced labor. An isolated act of oral sex does not qualify as labor or services. Where there is no commercial aspect to the incident and the victims never testified that they expected any type of benefit from the act. Moreover, the record does not show that Geronda gave oral sex to the defendant out of fear or threats of violence. Notwithstanding the prior assaultive behavior, it would not have taken much for Geronda to make the casual link between the act of oral sex and her fear of physical assault by the defendant, but she simply didn't. The jury was not free to jump to such a conclusion in the absence of Geronda's testimony, particularly where this event was an isolated one. Similarly, no rational juror could conclude, based on the evidence adduced at trial, that defendant knowingly obtained or agreed to obtain any labor or services from Faith on January 13, 2018, who testified that she traveled to Los Angeles to see defendant with whom she had been having a romantic relationship. She described an incident where she and defendant were in a small room in his studio. Faith claimed there was a gun in the room that made her intimidated, but conceded that defendant never threatened her with it or made any gestures that he intended to use it. Faith was simply uncomfortable by its presence. After an intense conversation during which Faith described defendant as being serious but not threatening, defendant directed her to give him an oral sex, okay, I don't think N is supposed to be there. Okay. Defendant directed her to give him oral sex and grabbed her neck before placing his penis inside her mouth. Without objection, Faith provided oral sex to defendant, although she testified that she did not want to. Faith herself refuses to identify as someone who was forced to do anything. On cross-examination, Faith admitted that she was not a victim and had made a choice, and she has choice in parentheses, to be with the defendant. Question, and this is a transcript from Faith's testimony. So the question was asked of her. In one of the podcasts we spoke about this morning, the paper route, on that show you said during the interview, I don't like the word victim because I don't feel like I'm a victim. I'm a young woman, and let's be clear. I made a choice to be involved with that person. Do I feel like everything he did was right? Hell no, but I had a choice. And that's why I walked away. I did not move in with him. I did not live with him. I did not take any money from him. There is a choice that you have to make. And then whoever was questioning her said, you said, or asked the question, you said that? And Faith replied, correct. And then the question was, you made a choice. And Faith responded, correct. And then the questioner said, and you're not a victim. And Faith replied, correct. So the forced labor statute was not enacted to remedy isolated occurrences like the one described by take any money from him. There is a choice that you have to make. And then whoever was questioning her said, you said the word victim because I don't feel like I'm a victim, that she was not a victim and had made a choice, and she has choice in parentheses, to be with the defendant. Question, and this is a transcript from Faith's testimony. So the question was asked of her. In one of the podcasts we spoke about this morning, the paper route. On that show, you said during the interview, I don't like the word victim because I don't feel like I'm a victim. I'm a young woman, and let's be clear. I made a choice to be involved with that person. Do I feel like everything he did was right? Hell no, but I had a choice. And that's why I walked away. I did not move in with him. I did not live with him. I did not take any money from him. There is a choice that you have to make. And then whoever was questioning her said, you said, or asked the question, you said that? And Faith replied, correct. And then the question was, you made a choice. And Faith responded, correct. And then the questioner said, and you're not a victim. And Faith replied, correct. So the forced labor statute was not enacted to remedy isolated occurrences like the one described by Faith. Indeed, it is not even clear from Faith's testimony that she communicated to defendant that she did not want to give him oral sex. She certainly did not end her relationship with defendant after this episode. The record fails to reflect a casual link between the isolated acts of oral sex and any threat of physical violence. Absent clear expression of congressional intent, courts should resist the urge to transform the forced labor statute to cover the circumstances alleged in Racketeering Act 6, which bear virtually no resemblance to those pragmatic cases and their victims. And then she says, C. Taviev, who I think is a judge who sits on the Fifth Circuit. And it says, describing prostitution, forced sweatshop work, and forced domestic services as pragmatic forced labor cases. So then it goes on to say, Geronda and Faith each described an isolated sex act with the defendant that they now view as assaultive. The district court contends that the jury was free to see these specific instances or incidences as forced labor in light of other evidence it heard about defendants' conduct towards other women, but the government was not free to bootstrap testimony from other alleged victims to bolster their forced labor theories as to very specific acts charged in the indictment. Geronda and Faith were not living in a condition of servitude through threats of physical force. They each described a discrete act that at best might have been charged as some type of sexual assault, and even that seems unlikely. To construe these events as acts of forced labor would render the purpose of the statute meaningless and afford the federal government free rein to charge any act accompanied by harsh or unkind words as forced labor. And and when I think about forced labor, I'm thinking about I work for you and then you're forcing me to do something that's outside of my job description. Now that's, if I was sitting on the jury and somebody saying forced labor, that's what I would think that they are talking about. And then you also have to consider that neither Geronda nor Faith actually lived with R. Kelly. And I cannot say enough that I am just my brain just cannot force me to believe that that man actually fooled with Geronda or had anything to do with Geronda. But anyway, forced labor to me just doesn't match up with what their testimony was and with what the government was trying to prove when they charged him with that. Oh, and I should add that, of course, forced labor is like when they bring with human trafficking, where they're bringing like immigrants across the borders or they're kidnapping people and they're forcing them into labor. And these people live in fear that, harm will come to them or their families if they don't do what the person said. So even with that definition, Geronda nor Faith were in that situation. And so this, I know, definitely should get overturned once these Second Circuit reviews that portion of the case. Like there's just so much to this Eastern District of New York case. Just the whole concept of the RICO itself is definitely something that the government or that the appeals court should be looking at, because this is definitely an overreach on behalf of the prosecutors who brought this case, and the fact that it made it as far as it did. With it was just a mess. If you guys did not follow that trial, I have over 200 videos on that trial, reading the transcripts and everything that had to do with that trial. If you don't believe me, okay, just go back and listen to some of those videos and you will be scratching your head as to how this man is spending 30 years in prison in a RICO where he was the only person that was charged. So, as I stated, this will probably be the last video that I do tonight. I believe that the oral arguments are in the morning, or they don't really give an exact time. They give the time that the court starts, and then they have cases that they hear. And so there's no guarantee that this case will be at the top of the agenda. So you just have to log in. And I know that the 7th district that heard the Northern District of Illinois case, they are live streamed on YouTube. I'm not sure about the Eastern District, but I will look it up and then put it in my community tab as to whether or not the case will be live streamed on YouTube and where you can find that information. So anyway, guys, that's it for me. Go ahead, like the video, share the video, and comment on the video, even if it's just to say thank you, because remember, it is the engagement, it is the likes, the shares, the comments that actually tells YouTube to continue showing the video to other people.
What are y'all thoughts about that? What are y'all thoughts about that? You got women that the government is saying are victims, saying that they're not victims. I don't like it's so much, man. It's so much. You got victims saying that they're not victims. You got women saying that they were exposed, that the defendant wasn't exposed. I mean, you got the judge saying it's a lot of issues here. I mean, I don't know. When the judge asked the prosecutors, what evidence do y'all have to support certain things? The lady was just saying, well, such said, and I guess, in federal court, hearsay is admissible. So, I don't know, man. Forced labor, I guess now we got forced labor. What's forced labor? I don't understand. Why is prostitution illegal? If women get paid to have sex, why is it illegal? I don't know. I guess in this case, Geronda and Faith performed a sexual act and didn't get paid for it. So that was forced labor. So I guess prostitutes gonna start filing unemployment and everything, right? I'm just being funny. I'm just being funny. Prostitutes gonna be calling filing unemployment. The judge asked the government on Monday, what evidence do y'all got to support this shit? You know what I'm saying? Forced labor. So if I pay a prostitute, it should be legal, right? She getting paid. I know it ain't number $40, but I'm paying. Shit, I work hard for my $40. You know what I'm saying? So when you perform a service and don't get paid, you know what I'm saying? You got you a lawsuit. There goes the lawsuit. So next time you work overtime and they don't pay you time and a half, oh yeah. You know what I'm saying? They don't pay you for your overtime. That's forced labor. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man. So we've been on here just about 2 hours. I hope each and every one of y'all enjoyed the live today. I hope y'all enjoyed the live show. And like I always say, I'm not on here asking anyone to follow my lead, to follow my thoughts. I'm not asking anyone to follow me. I'm not asking anyone to follow my thoughts. But what I am asking you all to do is ask questions, man. Ask questions. There's nothing wrong with asking questions. There's nothing wrong with questioning things that you have a concern about. There's nothing wrong with questioning things that you have questions about. And that's me. I'm a type of person, you can tell me shit 1,000 times and I'm gonna still ask you a question one more time. Because I need to understand without a shadow of doubt what you are trying to express to me. You know what I'm saying? Right, Bree. I agree. I agree. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate, man. Look, I can't thank y'all enough for the support, showing up on the lives. And like you say, man, I'm not no law expert. I'm not telling anybody to listen to me. But I mean, I can agree. I guess we all have similar questions about the things that we have witnessed or in the things that we have heard. Let's keep the faith, man. Let's keep the faith. You know, continue to believe. And that's all we can really do, because I'm most definitely not in the business of convincing nobody. You know what I'm saying? That ain't something that I try to do. You either gonna believe what you believe, or you know what I'm saying, or that's it. That's all. That's all it can be. You know, that's all it can be. You know, and shout out to Ashley as well, Ashley Cohen. You know, she simply put it, he who has faith in the heavens will weather any storm. Amen to that, man. He who has faith in the heavens will weather any storm. So where do you all faith lie? Where do you all faith lie? Who do you all believe in? Do you believe in there's a God? Do you believe in there's a higher power? Do you believe in if there's a will, there's a way? You know, do you believe that God can make a way out of no way? You know what I'm saying? Do you believe that God is the light on the other side of darkness? Do you believe? What do you believe? Because if your belief is not strong in any and everything that you do, you can't be a strong believer in this and don't be a strong believer in that. No, you're going to be a strong believer in everything that you do, everything that your mind possesses. You're going to have to be a strong believer in that. And I'm a strong believer in everything that I believe in, everything that I think of, everything that I want to do. I'm a strong believer in getting those things done. I'm a strong believer in achieving. I'm a strong believer. When you have self-doubt within your heart, you are already setting yourself back. You are already setting yourself up for failure. If you have doubt about anything that your mind, anything that you put your mind to, and you have doubt about it, you have already failed the test. Anything you put your mind to and you have doubt about it, you have already failed the test. And I'm saying that only to say, for so many people to have so much faith, so much belief in the abilities of Miss Jennifer Bonjean, and as soon as something don't go the way that you all see it to be, then all of a sudden she's not equipped. She's not ready. The stage is too big. Well, God damn. What if God gave up on us when he saw us sinning? What if God gave up on us when he saw us not giving our 10%? What if God gave up on us when our lights was off and we didn't know how we was going to get them cut on? What if God gave up on us when we didn't have food to put on our table to provide for our family? What if God gave up on us when we was on our hospital bed? We gotta stop being so easy to give up and write somebody off. Just because things doesn't go the way that we see them to be. Understand something. When you put in a destination on a GPS, it gives you multiple ways to get to that destination. It don't tell you that there's one way to get there. You may be traveling on a route and you may not see no other cars. Guess why? Because there are two other routes that other cars are traveling on. But at the end of the day, you all are going to get to the same destination. You may not make it at the same time, but you all have the final destination. We all have the final destination, and that's to make it to heaven. And if your destination ain't to make it into heaven, then I don't even need you around me, nowhere near me, nowhere talking to me, nowhere eating with me. I don't want to do shit with you. If your destination ain't to make it to where I'm trying to make it to, we can't do nothing together. Nothing. It's bad enough that this lady, Miss Bonjean, and her law group have to fight for Mr. Kelly just like they fighting for others. But it's only so much that this lady can do with what she has to work with. But she's making the best out of what she has. And for people to be so negative about the efforts that she's giving, it's embarrassing, man. If y'all give up on people like that, man, I promise, I would rather not have it. I would rather not deal with it. I'll continue to do what I've been doing. Simple. Simple as that. I had to come on the stream to say that last part. Because I'm going to fight I'm gonna fight to the end. I'm gonna stand to the end. I'm not gonna waver. Even when I feel like, oh, I've been hit, I gotta continue to stand. Even when I feel I've been pushed, I gotta continue to stand. I can't let the fear of the enemy defeating me be the reason I lie down. I can't let the fear of the enemy defeating me be the reason why I lay down. I'm going out fighting. I'm going out fighting. You're going to have to take every bit of breath out of my body. But I'm going out fighting. I'm going to stand on the front line. Because I'm not going to a war that I can't stand on the front line of, because I'm not going to put my life in jeopardy with someone who's not sure if they ready to fight. I'm not going to put my life in jeopardy for someone who's not sure if they want to fight. But if I go to war, I'm going on the front line. I'm going on the front line. What's going on, brother Lex? What's good with you?
What's up, fam? How you doing today?
Man, I'm doing all right, man. Getting ready to close this thing out. We'll just give us some closing sentiments.
Right. Well, let me give you a little bit of my thoughts on this whole Bunjean thing, man. I feel like that God appointed her to go in there and do what she needed to do. Just because she didn't go in there and do the thing that everybody else thought she should do, He gave her a purpose to go in there. And what the government said was telling. They saw a whole lot of problems. So by that, with that being said, if the government is already calling it out, what y'all feel that Bunjean didn't do, the government didn't peep it out. So why worry? Just sit back and let Bunjean do her thing. Let God work through her. Don't question what she's doing. Yeah, don't question what she's doing, because God the one has the final answer.
Cause guess what? They ain't gonna go to McDonald's asking for no Popeye chicken.
Hell no. Yeah, that's just like with your podcast. You got your podcast set up the way you want to set up. You got the ground rules. You work hard to get to where you want it. So how can somebody come in there first day one say, "No, man, you should do it this way. I feel like you should do it that way." You can give me your opinion about it, or you can give me your, whatever you want to give me about it. But that don't mean I'm gonna follow your examples, so to speak. But Bunjean is a professional. She's done this before. So I don't get where people come and say, "Well, she missed this, she missed that." I feel like things that were missed, I feel like that's probably God's plan to let things go on, let the world see, let the government see, or let the appellate court see where the government was so shaky and they're trying to show their proof about what they found that they didn't have no kind of proof about what they found. They didn't show nothing. You had to lay up there shaking and carrying on, stumbling over what they asked them. She goes to, well, the forced labor. Okay, well, prove it, but you didn't prove it. So I feel like she did an excellent job, man. So I don't know what people get off about saying Bunjean didn't do a good job. I just don't get it, but that's just me. And we'll find out more about it once it goes on. But man, free kids 2024, man. Quit playing around with this, man.
Most definitely. Most
Yeah,
definitely. That's all we gotta do, man. It's not about how you start the race, man. It's all about how you finish, man. And just because a person come out at the beginning of the race running fast and running fast as goddamn me Usain Bolt. that don't mean that person gonna win the race in the end.
Hell no. You got
That goddamn
obstacles out
horse,
there.
that damn horse, that horse have yet to understand how did he lose to the turtle.
Yep, there's obstacles out there that'll prevent you from winning the race when you're the fastest person on the course. You might have bad shoes. The transmission might go out. One of your screws on your tires the lug nut might come off. Your alternator belt might break at any given moment. The drive shaft might crack. Power steering column go out. Then what you gonna do? You gotta slow that thing down. Then you got somebody who rolling around in a Yugo or something, going 30 miles an hour, keeping pace, going to ride right by you while you broke down on the side of the road trying to wait on AAA. You know AAA take about anywhere from an hour to 2 hours. By the time they come, the race is already over with.
It's already over, man.
Yeah, so people gotta just be patient. The name of the game is patience. Patience, 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 and consistency. If you're gonna ride with Bunjean, ride with Bunjean. Don't be questioning her tactics. Because she done it before. I don't know nobody on the YouTube platform who done it before at that level. I don't.
No, you gotta have a strategy, man. And one of her biggest strategies, one of her strategies, if y'all can remember, she was saying, "I'm putting it on record. I'm gonna put it on record." She put it on record so that it leaves, so it can be proved that she raised these issues, with Bunjean or with Lennon Weber. She filed these motions and documents so that she put it on record. She said, "I want to put this on record." For a reason, man. You build up your tracks, you build up your strategy as you go.
Yeah. And she been doing it since she got on the case. She been putting it on record ever since day one. And every time she do it, she can revert back to it. So what she put down on record, everybody can go back and read the paperwork on it. So just because she don't say it in the oral arguments, that don't mean it hadn't been put down. That don't mean she documented it. She might didn't say it at that time, but that don't mean it hadn't been documented. So we just got to be patient about the whole situation. I know everybody get mad and everything, thinking she can go in there and with her skeleton key unlock the darn doors and let Mr. Kelly out. But hey, it's gonna take time because a lot of stuff still need to be revealed. A lot of stuff need to be revealed. That's the reason why it's not happening right now, as everybody think it should. Stuff got to be revealed. Until all the stuff has to be revealed and it's being shown, it's gonna take time. Because the whole world needs to know why he was really locked up and it wasn't behind no darn underage girl.
Oh, definitely. We got Brother Provoke that came in. We got Uncle Muse that came in.
Oh, okay.
Y'all catch me when I'm 2 miles from the house.
Oh man. The crock pot is balling, man. Y'all need to come on with the little seasons and everything, man. Come on, bring something. Bring the seasoning, bring the size. Come on with it.
Hey, look at
people say if I would have done first, you gotta go to school.
Yeah.
You right about that.
You gotta go to school first to say what you would have did in the courtroom.
You ain't lying.
Oh man, you know, hey bro, you got people all the time talking about what they would do in the position if they was in somebody else's position. I done sat up here and watched Stephen A. Smith say he wanted to debate Donald Trump, bro, and I'm like, when the hell? You know what I'm saying? When the hell you ever been? You know what I'm saying? You ain't that cat. You ain't. I mean, it's wild, man. When you think about the links that people go to try to be de facto, and I know who y'all talking about. You know what I'm saying? That, and like I said, as much as I know that this lady, because I'm gonna try to keep people's name out my mouth, because I'm trying to build my channel and shit, and I don't need nobody playing with me. People have a bad habit of interjecting their feelings and interfering with, what I'm saying, what people who've been doing what they've been doing for years can do. Causing a mess and another stir that ain't even got to be. Jennifer Bunjean did what she did, man. She argued what she argued. We're gonna see what the heck happens. Sometimes the simplest explanation is the best one. You got to keep it simple. They charged the man with RICO and enterprise by a damn self, and there was no nexus to connect him or the enterprise to one another. I think she proved that point. I really do. Yeah, I don't think there was anything outside of, she covered what she felt like she needed to cover. She got years of experience and a wealth of knowledge and a track record of conviction overturns. I don't know what you wanted her to do. Did you want her to get up, start singing her damn self? I mean, what is it that you wanted her to do?
Now they gotta stop watching Tyler Perry in the courtroom.
I'm like, this is not Law and Order.
Hell no.
Perry, Mason, it ain't none of that shit that we don't watch back in the day. Justice ain't that swift. As you can see, man, they denying people due process right now. It's been cruel and unusual punishments popping off the whole time. Cruel and unusual punishment for R.Kelly. They over-sentenced that man.
Even
30 years and ain't nobody dead. Due process is out the window and over the fence, and it's not just for the fair and speedy trial. It's for everything that comes with it. Playing above board, which is something that they didn't do. And like I said, we see it in all the other entities that I deal with on my channel. We see it. It's there. This is, R.Kelly was just a start, man. Pretty soon it's gonna be us if we don't do nothing about it, man. Yeah. But pretty soon it'll be us.
But and one thing they know they have when it comes to us is they have division, right? They know somebody out there don't like you. So if we lock you up, we know that they're gonna rally and campaign around, oh, you deserve to be locked up.
Absolutely. It's a damn shame how the government goes about the business of trying to bankrupt the person before they prosecute them.
Yeah, that's
why we didn't see Charlie Sheen with no Mann Act case? Why we didn't see Charlie Sheen with no exposure case?
Left wing.
With none of this shit. Why not?
4854, please.
Right.
Jonathan, 4854.
Hey.
Did that guy in Tennessee get the Mann Act? That was exposing all the women to AIDS. Did he get the Mann Act?
So that's the same thing Charlie Sheen did.
Yeah.
And that rapper, what's his name? Polk. DJ Polk. He was on
Yeah. Yeah.
Greetings, panel guest, nephew.
What's going on?
I wanted to chime in for a minute. I know I couldn't do really nothing because we at work, so I came down into the locker room just to let my presence be heard and felt. That's all. Blessing to everybody in the chat. Greetings to everyone. That's all. Just want to touch base with you. But
okay. Yeah, man. We had a good live today. A very interesting live.
Back on the playback.
You know what I'm saying? And I can't thank the people enough for coming over here. And I do know, we just do a lot of playing back the videos and just going back over a lot of the information. And even my worst enemy, I would not even want to see my worst enemy go through some shit like this, because I understand that even though that's my enemy, but when you go in front of the court of the law, you my brother. You look just like me. Or not even if you look just like me, you another man just like I'm a man. So I would want to see you see your rights violated, or you being, paraded through these courts like you don't have any existence. Because I know, guess what? When they make this case law using you, this same case law could take me down. Yep. It's gonna be a lot of trouble because a lot of these women don't know, right? Some of these women know, and some of these women don't know. But when a lot of these women catch on to They ain't gotta start. They ain't gotta cut niggas' ties no more. They ain't gotta bust niggas' windows out no more. They ain't gotta key their cars up no more. They can go to the police
and make up whatever they want to make up.
Let me ask Brother Lex something to help me
Yes,
out
sir.
with
Yes,
based
yes,
on
sir.
based, based on what y'all was saying a moment ago. Help me comprehend this. What is that hope? And let me say this: that was the individual, um, some many moons ago, who was carrying some information in a bag, maybe maybe a leather carrying case, perhaps
John Clark, 4854, please. John,
Virginia,
4854.
coming through Virginia, and he noticed a smell, Brother Lex. And when he
Uh-huh.
noticed the smell, it sounded like a dead body. He smelled the whiff of it. It was real strong. And as he continued to travel down, he noticed men hanging from trees. So
Right.
as he got into town, I think you know where I'm going, Lex. He
Okay.
said he said to his comrades,
Come
no,
on,
don't
man.
do that. Don't do that because your crops will go unattended in the field. So no, you don't want to do that. He says the method that I have in this bag, if we implement it correctly, he said ancient Rome, Brother Lex. If you do your history about ancient Rome, Babylon, Alexander the Great, all of them great kings and kingdoms,
Mm-hmm.
he said, pagan Rome, the papacy. If you do all your history, he said ancient Rome doing back that time, way before his time. He said the method I have in this bag, if implemented correctly, ancient Rome would envy us, talking about his fellow slave masters. And he said, here we go, Brother Lex. He said, we will control the Negro for thousands of generations.
Right.
Give me a moment.
That's
Just let
on.
that, just for a moment. Just let it breathe for a moment and hit the psyche.
Yeah, that's on the class of the Titans type level right there.
Hmm.
Willie Lynch said that in his letters.
Hey, you know what's crazy about it?
I year back. I year
At
back.
this
I just
at
wanted to
this
let that
particular point, what's crazy about the Willie Lynch syndrome? It ain't just tied to black people no more.
Mm-hmm.
out.
Everybody has the Willie Lynch syndrome. They've taken all of our differences and they have exacerbated them and made them huge, so that everybody in the world is divided. And when you divide everybody, guess what you can also do? You can control them.
Bingo. I'm
Yep.
out of here. That's it. That's it.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep. Yep. That's
Manipulate.
it. That's,
You can even take the very law that you're supposed to be upholding and lay it right in your face and twist it and finesse it. And you people won't even get it. Won't even
Because
get it.
everybody does what the slaves used to do when people used to get hung. Now everybody's saying the same thing. Oh, he must have done something.
There,
mm-hmm.
there
Hey,
you
I
go.
guess
Yep.
I must have did something.
Boy, I'm trying to tell you,
I guess I must have did something.
you must have did
Hey,
something.
I don't say I almost, I fit the description. I'm a black male with a hood on, with a baseball cap, hands in my pocket. Something don't look right.
Mm.
Must have did something, bro.
Yeah. You must have did something.
What would you do? Mobbing on your workout here?
Yeah, I'm getting my walk in, and actually this guy pulls up to me, and because I had did about 5 miles, and he asked me a question. He like, man, have you ever thought about joining the police academy? It turned into a great. I got the conversation recorded. We got to
You
talk
better have it
about.
recorded.
I got the conversation recorded. We got to talking about policing, policing in America, and the type of threats and different things, and I got a good understanding from this officer as we talk, dialogue. And like he said sometimes when we pull people over, sometimes it can be just for a warning, but sometimes you have people you pull over, they get so irate, they get so mad if they have warrants or whatever, they might pull off on you.
RICO,
You know,
4854.
you never know if they have guns or whatever the situation may be. He said it is. He said I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's easy being a police officer. He said because you have to think about a lot of different things that can take place during a traffic stop, different shit like that. You know, he also talked about with the youth. You know, God damn.
That
With
was Lex right there.
the we also talked about with the youth. He said why a lot of these youth, you know, they committing crimes, stealing cars and different things like this. And then when they getting locked, when they getting pulled over in these cars for stolen cars, they only being took home to their parents, and there's no punishment being issued. You know, so these same kids that stole a car yesterday will go steal a car tomorrow. You know, and they will continue to do this because they know they can't be charged for
They
it.
should be
And you know, we were just having a good conversation, me and him, and you know, I voiced my concern, you know, with the police. You know, I think police stereotype, you know, people when they pull over. They just assume that some people are criminals when they pull them over, and that's not the case. So, you know, they feel some type of way about us, we feel some type of way about them. But it turned out to be a good conversation. This guy was the same age as me. We were the same age, and we had a good conversation. And he even walked around the track with me for about 2 laps. I mean, and we just talked. So, you know, it was good though. But this is you know, but the picture. You know, I posted this picture on TikTok. People all in the comments, man, the pigs, F12, this, that, the third, motherfuckers always, and it really wasn't a bad encounter.
And you
It
know
just
what?
it appears to be that way though, right?
The reason why it goes that way for you is because of the fact that you do what you do, and you get that content. So that's why that happens for you. Nah, man, I'm sorry. I had to take a pause for the calls. A real fine motherfucker came
I
up
know
through a
this
little-
might be a good cop, but like I told him, I said you might be a good cop, but if you know there's other cops that's working in your precincts that's not a good cop, then and you don't speak up and you don't speak out about that, that makes you a bad cop.
It does. You know, complicit. I think complicity at times is worse than the actual activity.
Uh-huh.
You know, we got a lot of folks out here that's just complicit and just comply with whatever they see, and it's like, oh well, you know, we have to be a little bit more proactive instead of just sitting here and just watching shit happen. You know, and complicity comes from anytime some shit go on, a fight break out, you break out your damn camera.
Mm-hmm.
That's the true definition of complicit. Oh, somebody asked, did you bring up R.Kelly in the conversation?
No, we didn't talk about R.Kelly, but what he did, he gave me an idea, you know, about being as far as being a resource officer. And a resource officer is an officer that just go out to the schools, you know, and you talk to different kids that maybe having behavior problems or whatever the situation may be. And that kind of caught my attention, you know, as far as the resource officer go, you know, and I'm like, well, that sound like something that I might, you know, might want to take an interest in, because we got to get to our children while they're young, man.
Your headset is here, bro.
And most definitely trying to teach them the law.
And they hear us
The laws, especially with the way the laws are going now. We really have to teach our children. This shit is we are far removed from the old ways. The things that they think are not problematic are very much so problematic. And I had this conversation with my sons all the time. They laugh and joke about everything, but I tell them, man, this world is serious, man. Y'all just not being, you know, there's no consequences about certain actions right now. But, you know what I'm saying? When you become 17, 16, 17, 18, life is going to change drastically.
Yeah, they don't have that exposure like we do. Following the case with Mr. Kelly and Trump and everybody else that's out there, even though it's social media, we're getting exposed to what's really going on in the government. And the kids today, all they know is social media, go to the movies, hang out with their friends, play video games, and that's it. You're not paying any kind of bills. So right now, you don't have any kind of consequences. All you know is, well, mom and daddy got it, or daddy got it, mama got it. When you get that age to where you got to pay your own bills, then you'll be able to see what we're talking about. Because at some point in time, we were all the same way. I ain't got to worry about it because mom and daddy got it. But now it's not like that no more. You got to kind of get it at an early age and know what's going on.
Oh yeah, one thing that I used to always say is that the age of accountability is 30.
Bullshit.
That's what I used to say.
Bullshit.
That used to be the age where people would stop looking at you funny, but now it's so much sooner. It's so much sooner. You got to be accountable quick now.
What happened?
What to the age of? You see what happened? Oh, what happened to her?
Man, what happened?
Crack.
Is this a fucking insurance claim or something? Is this an insurance claim? This is life after life.
Bro, this is when the mask come off.
Hey, when R.Kelly said, when a woman's fed up.
I don't know, man. This is when the mask come off, bro. Like, she done took her whole mask off.
Hey, when R.Kelly say, sitting here looking in the mirror, saying damn to myself.
I mean, look at her eye sockets, bro.
They will come.
Look at them bags. Look at that luggage under them eyes, man. Shorty ain't been sleeping. Obviously, she ain't been eating.
Hey, sitting here looking in the mirror, saying damn to myself.
Now,
I should have known this day would come.
Now I'm gonna keep it all the way bang. I'm gonna keep it 100. I'm gonna keep it 100, right? Now, if she had been on Gayle King looking like this, I'd be like, well, damn. I mean, Jesus. Like, is he not feeding her? What? I mean, if she was looking like the person on the right, but she was looking healthy as a horse when she was out with R. Kelly.
Look like the family is doing what they said R. Kelly did.
Yeah, she come out the basement every now and then, take pictures so they know she's still alive and shit.
Look like a goddamn glass of water ought to drown her ass.
She looking like Skeletor. The power of Grayskull. Shit.
I wonder how the rest of them red carpet recipients look right now.
Sick. I know Dre ain't making no. I know Andrea Kelly ain't making no bread. I know she can't be. Her money done dried up. I bet you. Yeah, that's crazy, man. Old Zelly Zell out here looking crazy. Boy, she went from the penthouse to the shit house, man.
Damn,
that's crazy. That's crazy.
I sure wonder what would have happened if she would have never flipped, and they all would have just kept doing their thing and not let it get to her. I sure would have wondered what would have happened.
She went from living in the trunk to living like a chump. Straight up, done chumped herself off. Shot herself in the foot. It's a dirty game, man. Dirty game.
Well, they go to show you. You can't be doing nothing on emotions.
Have a good day.
It's because you're mad and pissed off. It don't take but a second to step back and think about if you really care about somebody, you're gonna go ahead and go through it versus what somebody tell you or what somebody show you. Because if you know that's not true, they're not showing you what they putting out there in the atmosphere, then why believe it? So She should have stuck to her guns, whether she was in it for the long haul or not. Stick to your guns. If she was done with her family, she should have just been done with the ass and let it ride.
I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah, because you already had somebody sitting beside of it. Y'all both fight for the same thing. So if y'all was already down with each other, why worry about some words and some audio?
I don't know,
But
man. Well, I probably had to get up out here, man, because it sounds like something going.
Oh, good. Nah, but check it out, man. You know, I'll be on at 9 o'clock tonight, man. I figured out some as far as a way to, quickly share content that I'm
You
gonna,
need to come a little earlier than 9, man.
That's hey, bro. Well, you know what? We're gonna do 8 because I get off at 7.
Well, today Wednesday, today your hot day, man.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
true.
yeah,
Today Wednesday.
yeah,
Oh, you
yeah.
said
They
today
hump.
hot day.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. They hump. They going dial in early.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
man.
at work right now. I get off at 7, so I go ahead and jump on at 8.
Oh shit. Well, you can set the live up on your phone. Then you can, so when you get home, you ain't gotta do none of that typing and
Oh,
shit.
I got a whole laptop situation. I got a whole desktop sitting in front of me at the gig. So
Oh, okay.
trust and believe me, that's where I'm talking to you from now.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
yeah.
got
That way I can.
I got a motherfucking Porsche pirate, so I'm finna go get my motherfucking
Yeah,
gun.
so we
Oh
And
yeah,
talk.
yeah. You gotta go on. You gotta go on and get that real quick, cause you know how they is. They
So
got
we
they
gonna
got
hey,
magnetic. They got
motherfucker,
magnetic hand.
the motherfucker's so stupid. They stole my lawnmower off the porch the other day, but it was I didn't like the lawnmower anyway because it's one of them electric lawnmowers. But they stole the electric lawnmower, but then steal the charging pack or the battery to go to it. That's a damn
Damn.
dope thing.
Mm-hmm.
You will
Yeah,
stole some shit you can't even use.
the crazy thing about it is, people steal the stank off shit, man. But like I said, I come on, I'll jump on early. Maybe I might just jump on as soon as I get home. It don't take but about a half hour to get home. We of course we're gonna be still continuing our comparisons. And I know some people in the R.Kelly sector don't like it, but my comparison with Trump versus Kelly Avenatti and the dog heads that he got chasing him. You feel me?
Same.
You know what I'm saying? We're gonna talk about the fact that they're doing the same thing to him, trying to bankrupt him before trial, like they did R. Kelly.
Yeah.
They're doing the same thing. They got him on a RICO. Now they're trying to cripple him and deplete his funds. So we gonna make sure that we move accordingly, man. We gonna get information.
Already,
Yeah, you
man.
got.
But in the end of the day, we got to talk about Miss Bonjean. We got to talk about what happened. We go how we do. It's a mixed bag. I'm condensing my lives down to 2 hours. So we're gonna go ahead and let that be the reason. We're gonna get in and get out. And if it get good, we'll go longer. I know that, but as far as content, just real good, solid
What's up,
content.
Mary?
We're gonna keep it moving. And I want to see all y'all in the chat, man. Come on over, man, for real. I know y'all be staying away or y'all got other things to do. Just come holler at me, man. I'll
That's
make it
what
work
I'm
for y'all.
telling you, man. We gotta go a little early, man. Gotta get them a little early.
Well, I tell you what, what's about to happen. I'm actually gonna be switching jobs pretty soon, and I'll be on an earlier shift. So, with that in mind, I will be coming on a little bit early.
That'll be good. That'll be
with that in mind, I'll be a little earlier in the evening, especially in the summertime. I'll be moving in, coming in about 6 o'clock. Something like that.
All right.
Okay. Well, Darlene, I understand you're not a Trump supporter, but let's not talk about support of a person. Let's talk about support of the law. Whether you like a person or not, the law gotta work for everybody. That's the same thing that happened with R. Kelly. People was like, I don't like him, so I don't care. We gotta care. I don't care. I don't care who it is. It doesn't matter. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And you would hate for somebody to be for R. Kelly, and if you had a son and something happened to him, they wasn't for your son just because they don't like him. So we got to do better than that. We have to.
Right.
What's right is right. What's right is right. What's wrong is wrong.
Because it is a comparison between the cases. There are comparisons within the cases, but and that's all we gotta do. We gotta keep breaking it down. The more we clear the context, the more people understand. You know what I'm saying? You know, because when it comes to these people, the government, it ain't about color. It ain't about none of that.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
and also tonight we're gonna talk about Donald Trump's black girlfriend that he had for 2 years before he married Melania. Y'all didn't know that, did you? All right, I'm gonna let you go and do your thing. Get us up out of here, bye.
Yeah, y'all, we about to get up out of this thing, but like your boy Big Val always say, man, you like to donate to the channel, man, you can do so in Big Val Opinion on Cash App. If you like to donate to the channel, you can do super chat, super thanks, any information that you all may have that you feel like is relevant or could be useful to the chat family in the presentation, send it to me, BigValOpinion88@gmail.com. I'm waiting on it. I'm looking forward. Shout out to everybody.
Hey, did somebody just put me in my comment has failed to post? Let me see. Hold on. They didn't let me post my ish. Hold on. I'm trying to make sure my stuff working. Yeah. Okay, I'm good.
Yeah. Shout out to everybody who came over and supported. Shout out to Miss Angie for visiting us today.
Jonathan White 4938.
Also, man, and I tell people, man, if y'all can find this show, I be telling people all the time, y'all can find this show called For Life, and it's based in New York. It is based on a true story with this brother Isaac Wright Jr. and him and his organization. Man, y'all can go find that show For Life, directed by 50 Cent, bro, and watch that show. And man, y'all gonna see a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about happen to this man. And he fought the Supreme Court by himself with no representation.
Absolutely, and it showed the corruption in it. And it's funny how, you know, it was one of those things that was in the New York situation,
right?
You know, keeping the man in jail, keeping him on lockdown, you know, suppressing information, all of those things being totally unfair.
Yeah. Tipping off his witnesses, threatening them if they show up to testify on his behalf, all type of shit, man. Y'all gotta go find that show, man. It's called For Life, directed by 50 Cent. It's about Isaac Wright Jr. It's a true story. And with that being said, until next time, it's been good. It's been great. Thanks to Lex. Thanks to Sir Miguel came through. Thanks to Derek for coming through. Thanks to Uncle Muse for coming through. Thanks to Jeff Taylor for coming through. And most importantly, thanks to the motherfucking chat for holding it down. You feel me? Until next time, we up out of this thing.
All right, Derek, I see you at 8.
All right, I'll catch you. You might be sooner. You never know. You never know.
All right.
I might do.